All right, guys, I'm live. Good to see you here, or good to be seen here, I guess it is. Punctual for one of the few times because I didn't have any computer problems, and I'm glad to be here. I'm glad you guys are leaving all the feedback you are on the YouTube channel. There's so many different things that I see that affect the dog training community as a whole, and some of it is really scary. Some of the comments of people who are really so adamantly opposed to fair training, to balanced training, to corrections and training, to training tools and all that. And, I go after these people every once in a while because I think it's very dangerous. I don't do it because I dislike them. I've got nothing against them. I have something against their movement because I think it's radical and I think it's dangerous for dogs as a whole. You'll see that in societies where training tools are banned. For example, prong collars, e-collars, even chains and such. The overwhelming population of dogs is always very what's the word I'm going to look for? Benign, right? That you're not going to see a lot of trouble dogs. You're not going to see dogs with behavioral issues. Those dogs end up in shelters and end up being put down. That's just the sad truth. Because the sad truth of it really is that if you can't train a dog, if you can't give the dog the correction the dog needs, then you will end up with a dog that will be put down. And that's a tragedy, right? Now, I'm not against putting dogs down that are aggressive, that are dangerous. I mean, I'm the first one to say put dogs down that are dangerous. If they're a danger to society, if they're a danger to other dogs, if they're a danger to children, I'm the first one to say put them down. The first one. But I don't believe in putting dogs down that can be saved. And by that, I mean a dog that just needs some basic guidance and basic corrections. Now, most dogs, because of selective breeding, will respond to positive training. 90% of here's a funny thing. I've got a couple stalkers on my site, on YouTube, and they will overwhelmingly pick my prong collar video or my e-collar video and tear that apart. But they don't really look at all the other videos. Like 90% of the videos I do are balance training videos, but they don't see that. They don't see those videos, and they don't comment on those. And that's what's always such a failure to their argument. I'm just going to, while I'm talking to you, try to figure out what's going on here with my my software, because it's for some reason telling me that my sidecar, which is a little program I use so I can see my questions over here, isn't working. Now it says it is working, but I can't seem to figure out. I might have to do another way so I can see your questions. It says lost connections. I wish Janet was here because Janet usually helps me with all this stuff. Anyway, I'll give it a try for a while. She's going to be in a minute. She's working out, getting her exercise outside. So anyway, I do think this movement is very toxic. I do think it's very dangerous. I do think it's very, very dangerous to dogs. I mean, I don't really worry much about other things except for I've kind of dedicated my life. Most of my life was not in competitive obedience. Most of my life was not in pet dogs. Most of my life was dedicated to helping shelter dogs. That being said, I'm going to be releasing the shelter dog training program in the next month or two. So it's going to be a course. It's not going to be a monthly membership. It's going to be a one-time course. You can go in, do the course. You'll be able to get a certification, an online certification on it. And it's going to be pretty cool. It's really cool. It's about 12 years of my life encapsulated into this. So let me take some of your questions. You got a lot of them out there. Amy wants to know how I feel about Prozac for dogs. As with anything medical, I'm not against it. I'm certainly not, a person who doesn't believe in medicine or anything like that. I do think it's overused most of the time. It's an easy solution. And it's an easy solution really coming into the conversation that I started this live chat out with. It's the easy solution, right? Let's not train the dog. Let's not go through this. Let's just put them on some anti-anxiety medicine. And that's where your problem ends up. So if nothing else can be done for the dog, I think it's really good. But we should certainly approach behavioral things first. Nick, what are your tips and tricks for walking dogs in cold weather? We walk a few times a day. Do you have any suggestions on indoor activities to do with your dog? I don't have a treadmill. You can do a lot of nose work things. You can do basic obedience in your house. You can do that. You don't really want to do really high drive things that are going to really, get a dog into drive. So other than that, everything's fine. Just keep your dog going. I mean, I think you live in Canada. It's quite cold. So Red, just a quick thank you for all your help. Our 2-year-old Pyrenees has come so far in a year. She does the between the legs move like a champ. Now as quick as some, but hey, not as quick as some. Good, awesome work. By the way, don't forget, if you got a question, do this, Remy, just put a question mark in front of it because it's so much easier for me. We'll probably get a lot of people in here. For those of you who are in here already, be sure to give the video a thumbs up if you can. I'm not leaving a lot of these videos up long term, but what I really would love you to do is, if you're not already a subscriber to the channel, subscribe to the channel and hit the notification bell. The bell is really important because if you don't hit the bell, you're a subscriber, but you don't get to know when I put new content up or when I'm going to go live. So that's important. Any advice or experience to share regarding heartworm preventative medications? I've recently read some scary stories. Well, yeah, so with anything here, Remy, you'll always hear scary stories about vaccines and about all this stuff. And I ascribe to a very minimalistic vaccine protocol. And one was posted by Dr. Jean Dodds, who was really good for Hemopet. She's a friend of mine. She had a really good vaccine protocol that was minimalistic. She believed in pulling titers on dogs so that you could see if the dog needed another vaccine. Now, heartworm, if you have heartworm in your area, then you really should consider a heartworm preventative, because if you don't, then you're going to end up with heartworm in your dog, and that really is quite dangerous. You don't want that at all. Otherwise, if you don't have heartworm in your area, like here, we don't have it in Southern California, so I don't use it. That's as simple as that. And again, my computer's buffering again, so I'm going to have to look over here every time I want to do this, and I'm fine to do this. I can just go this way, except it doesn't let me see the question. My God. Recently, I rescued a Malinois. Will bring the ball back to me, but won't drop it. Any suggestions? Well, the reason the dog won't drop it is because the game stops, right? So he thinks you're going to make him do obedience or anything like that. The thing I always say to do there is to play 2-ball with the dog. Have 1 ball where the dog, when the dog brings it, have another ball. You're going to have, hey, bring it here, bring it here, bring it here. And they bring it, and then boom, they got the second ball. It's called 2-ball. It works really well to condition the dog to bring things back. Otherwise, the dog just seems to, you have a struggle, and the struggle becomes part of the game for the dog, and that's where you have a problem with it. Monica says, I recently rescued a Malinois. Hang on. Oh, that was yours. Sorry. Let's see here. Okay, greetings from Mongolia. Very cool. 2 kids, age 7, 10, and 8-month-old working line high drive German Shepherd puppy, and me, wife, expecting our 3rd baby in 2 weeks. Please give us some advice. Well, what I would do is really focus on getting the dog to focus on being calmer in the house. That's really the key. There's nothing you're going to really do to prepare the dog for bringing a baby in other than not letting the dog on furniture like couches and beds like that, especially if the baby's going to be up there. The other thing you want to be careful of is the dog roughhousing and playing around the house. So if you have solid obedience on your dog listens. If you tell the dog to get off the couch, he gets off the couch, get on the couch, gets on the couch and such, you're not going to have a problem. You don't want the dog to start assuming a position that he can go everywhere. And when the baby comes in, watch my video I posted on dogs and babies. I did it with Ziggy, and I give a lot of advice in that. I can't really recant the whole video, but that's what I would do. That would give you a lot of a great information there. Okay, let's see. That was you. Let's see. Here we go. Calum. Using Dodger 280C for 4 months now on level 12 for recall, found a scent and took off. Boost took it to 24. She ignored. Raised to 30. She yelped and recalled. Was the correction too high? No. What you have to realize is that corrections for things like predatory drive. This is why and this actually cements the argument I have. When a dog goes into prey drive, then the dog does not listen as they would if they would be in a normal drive, right? Prey drive, the predatory drive of the dog, will be the number one deterrent from the dog doing what you really want them to do. That's critical. You have to understand that the dog's prey drive, and you see this here, that when the dog is checked out, if normally a 5 works and then you have to take it to a 10, then you're seeing the predatory drive of the dog has become higher. And to override that, you need a stronger distraction. You need a stronger interrupter. And if the dog yelped, the dog, more than likely the dog felt it before you got to that level and was suddenly surprised or startled by the increase in stimulation. So no, if the dog recalled and did everything fine, I think you did the right thing. Remember, there are certain things dogs must know. Stay when told, come when called, leave it when told. That's it. That's it. There is no doubt about those. Yeah, anybody wants to argue that with me, go ahead. Because if your dog does not listen to those commands, then your dog puts themselves at risk of death. And that's it. And possibly other dogs too. So very, very, very dangerous. Very dangerous. All right. Let's see here. All right, here we go. Okay, I'm just going to tell you, since I'm reading this on my monitor here on the side, if you don't have a, I'm trying to figure what I'm looking at here. Sorry, guys, this keeps happening on my iPad. It just keeps disconnecting, and I don't know why. It's quite annoying. But if you don't have a question mark in front of your question, I'm probably not going to be able to answer it. Hang on a second here. So if I'm passing over you, it's because I don't see a question mark. Here, Martina. What would you make a priority in training when dealing with a puppy? That is most of the time calm, but when it goes nuts, it goes from 0 to 100 in a second flat. How would you act in the moment? So in the moment, what I would do is I would really try to be calmer. The natural tendency is when the puppy goes nuts that you go nuts, right? That you go, hey, stop it, knock it off, hey, whatever. And that's going to bite you in the butt, right? That's certainly going to bite you in the butt. And you're doing that in a response to the dog's action. And when you respond, right, or I should say reaction, right? You're reacting to it. When you react to something, you're just, boom, in that moment, you're just doing it. That can be a problem because if you have the dog getting more and more riled up, then you can't control the dog. You have to be calm. You have to be able to correct the dog. And you need to be able to step in and do something at that moment. I'm going to grab a different iPad here. I've got another one. See if I can get this to work. Give me 1 second, guys. So I'm going to try to hook up a different iPad here, which for some reason, the newest iPad, the best one, our iPad Air, doesn't work. And I don't know why, but it doesn't work. So I've got an old trusted little iPad here that I am going to try to hook up because it makes it easier if I can look right here at all the questions and stuff. But if I can't do that, then I end up having to look back. So battery's dead on this one, of course. It's always something. But as soon as that one clicks on, we're going to be fine. So let's go back here. Okay, Sabine. By the way, if you asked a question, I know you may have asked a question, but I've skipped over it. And the reason I skipped over it is because you didn't put a question mark in front of it. Right now, I'm kind of in video hell, per se, because I'm having to go back and forth and read over here and talk over here. So, all right. Sabine says, if I join your member program, can I learn how to teach e-collar, or do you only recommend working with trainer in person? 16-month-old border collie, is e-collar okay for the breed? So, you know, you don't have to join my member section. I'm not, you know, saying you only will be good if you join my member section. There's a lot of people who are just on YouTube who are doing very, very well. You will do better because the videos are more detail oriented in my membership section. Now, is the e-collar okay for border collies? Absolutely. I know a lot of people with border collies who use e-collars. I think the membership section on my site gives you more detailed information, and I talk a lot more about the nuances and the things you really want to look at when you're training your dog, because that's really the crux of it, right? You really need to make sure that you're understanding the dog's behavior, the body language, the cutoff signals and stuff like that. But I think you can learn it on YouTube. I think you can get a better grasp of it on my membership section. But the decision to sign up is up to you. I'm not forcing anybody to do that. I do think it's a good decision in the long run, though. Donald, thanks for all your comments, but you don't have to keep doing it. You know, I think people know once in a while. I don't want to kind of make people think we're trying to force people to put thumbs up. I appreciate it, but we don't need to force them for that. So thank you. Okay. Okay. By the way, guys, again, I'm saying this: if you don't have a question mark in front of your question like this here, then I can't answer your question because I'm going back and forth. Janet's outside still. She hasn't been able to make it back in yet, which I understand. But I only have one way of seeing the question, because I need to look over here. Usually she'll kind of hand them to me on the phone. So I don't understand your question, Jason. You said using treats and toys in competitive obedience as rewards in competitive obedience. Well, in competitive obedience, when you're competing, you can't have treats on you, right? And you can't have a toy on you. That's totally unacceptable. So if you're using them to train for competitive obedience, it's a great thing, right? Because it's going to work. But you're not going to be able to use them when you get to a competition. Now, what a lot of people do in competitive obedience, they have the dog conditioned to, let's say, treats or a toy or whatever it is, and they'll show the dog let's say, the Tupperware full of treats or the tug toy, and they'll put it outside of the ring, and then they'll take the dog in the ring, make the dog do the obedience routine, come out, and then reward the dog. Now, you can do that in anything. You can do it in IGP, IPO. You can do it in ring sport. You can do it anywhere, because you leave the ball outside. Now, here's the red herring, and that is if your dog's not really well trained and will blow you off, then in the middle of the obedience, the dog can blow you off, run out of the ring. You immediately disqualify, and go grab the toy. So. But I do believe in using treats and toys for conditioning behaviors and rewarding behaviors as well. Okay, Cass, hang on. For somewhere, e-collars are banned, but citronella spray collars aren't. Would you recommend a spray collar for proofing recall, or should I just stick with a long line? I would just stick with a long line. I don't think the citronella collars are going to be your friend. I don't know. But are they remote controlled citronella collars? They actually allow you to have a remote controlled citronella collar, but not an e-collar? I don't know. I don't know about that. Also, can the remote collars be vibration? Maybe that's another thing. You can kind of condition the dog to the vibration. That's one other option you might have, and I would consider trying that. I really would. That would be another option. Okay. Okay, Michael Harper. Let's see here. Like I said, this is just a real pain trying to do it this way. I have a 3-year-old German Shepherd female who is a little skittish and can be a bit reactive to dogs. I'm considering another puppy this year. Do you have any breed recommendations? My German Shepherd is not spayed. Well, if she's not spayed, I'd really, think very seriously about not getting a male. But you would probably, with a skittish dog, you'd probably want to just get a calm dog. Light breeds are always easier. Honey, if you go upstairs, okay, I just need the other iPad. I can't get anything to work on my iPads. It's by the piano, I think. You don't want, skittish dogs, it's really hard to bring a puppy in because you're going to want to make sure that the puppy doesn't become skittish, because puppies will pick up the behavior of other dogs, right? Of especially older dogs. So bring in, just try to get a really low drive dog. And if you're going to get her spayed, I'll tell you, you're going to have a nightmare on your hands if you have an intact female and a male. It's going to be a nightmare. I'm telling you that right now. So I would consider a female, which you're going to have a problem with, because if you have two females fighting, it's going to be problematic. But you got a real tough situation there, a real tough one. I'd spay. Here's what I would do. I'd spay the female and get a male. End of story. A low drive male. Okay, let's see here. I got to post it there. Somebody watching in Saudi Arabia. That makes me happy. I know in the Middle East, a lot of you guys have real issues finding good trainers and stuff. And whenever I get comments from you guys, I really appreciate it. Anybody in the Middle East, I know it's really hard there. So salam alaikum to you in Saudi Arabia. That's very cool. All right. Let's see. All right, hang on. Oh, thank you, honey. See, that's when you have a really great wife. She comes in and helps you. You're going to see her head. That's Janet's head right there, ducking underneath. Let's see. Somehow I'm going to try to get this working here. It's a complete and utter disaster here with this working. Give me 1 minute, guys. I'm going to go back to here, system preferences. I'm going to disconnect the other iPad, and I'm going to try to connect to this iPad. Still only showing this iPad. Yeah, if you could. I mean, it's just really, I'm just having a real hard time of it, guys. I don't know why this iPad situation is just a disaster here. Okay. Yeah, a lot of them don't have question marks. That's the thing today. God, you know what, guys? This is getting really bad. This is when you hit over 50. Okay, this is a question from Champion. I'm going to take the questions off of here because it looks like I'm still dealing with another one person here. I'm sorry about that, guys. It's a little embarrassing for me. I don't know why this is not working. Question is, how would you approach a 9-month Samoyed getting vocal in stores and some other public places? Just a matter of repeated exposure. And do you have a training on teaching a quiet command? There is no quiet command per se. That's really always an interesting thing people want. The only quiet command really is down. Like if a dog is on a down, they should be quiet. That's really important. They don't really know that they should be quiet. They should just be quiet, right? Because on a down, the dog is disabled. It's what we call a disabling command. We want the dog to be quiet because that's what we're asking the dog to do. But yeah, repeated exposure is good. But with a Samoyed, I mean, you're kind of dealing with a dog that it's prone to howl. That's just their nature. Anyway, I hope that helps. It's a tough breed to kind of get into taking to stores and these things. It's more of a feral type dog. They would consider Huskies and those a little bit more feral than others. Heckno Techno says, how much mental and physical stimulation does a Belgian Malinois require? I know every dog is a little different. What are your thoughts? Well, I would put Malinois at the top of the food chain, right? That's one of the number one dogs that needs stimulation because they just do. They're just high drive dogs. Malinois, Dutchies, even working line German Shepherds. If you get a showline Malinois, it's going to be a little bit less, but it's still a showline Malinois is still a dog that's going to require an immense amount of stimulation from you. It's just not going to be any easier than that. If you don't have the ability to give the dog stimulation, training, engagement, or attention, just don't get a Malinois. It's just not going to be a good one. Like half of them I can read with my glasses, half I can't. Good afternoon. Just got my Belgian puppy. It's not the first time owning one, but first time getting one from puppy. Just wanted your view on what should be the first things I guess the first training things or so. The first and foremost thing you should always teach every puppy is recall. There's nothing more important than a recall to a puppy, because it just teaches the dog what you want, what you need, and that the dog must engage to you. The dog must be focused on you, and that's a safety issue, right? The next thing is going to be a stay, and from there it doesn't really matter. But I would do a lot of luring and shaping, and do hand feeding and recalls, engagement, shaping your ups and downs, your stands and sits, and your downs and all that. That's all stuff you really need to focus on. All right, next question here. God, I need the glasses again. Not having a good morning, guys. I'll tell you that right now. It's a little stressful here. Jan, I have 2 dogs that are way too aggressive. I truly need help. One is 8 years old and Aussie Border Collie. My new puppy is the same breed. He will be 1 year old in 2 weeks. That's a tough one. I mean, I don't know what your situation was before you got the puppy, if you were really understanding what you're going to be dealing with, but you want to really think about that, right? You're going to need to keep them apart. You're going to need to have a really strong hand. You're going to need to get the dogs to understand what you're asking, what you're demanding, and you cannot because you got 2 high drive dogs. Under any conditions, you can't put up with allowing that behavior. You just cannot do it. You can't do it. I always say that if you have 2 dogs, then you really need to focus on what is important. And what's important is safety and structure. That's it. That's really critical. I'm in iPad hell. I've got 3 iPads and none of them work. Isn't that insane? This iPad doesn't even click on. Here, this iPad doesn't come on because there's no battery in it, and this iPad disconnects every 2 minutes. Sometimes you just have a really crappy time with technology. Thank God for Jana. If it wasn't for Jana, I wouldn't be doing this. I couldn't do it. Carlin says, when using the e-collar as punishment for chasing a cat, by the way, you're not using an e-collar for punishment. You're using an e-collar for corrections. I'll tell you, let me give you an example of an e-collar used for punishment, okay? Using an e-collar for punishment is putting it on your dog and just shocking them. Just pretending it's a remote control and just going, let's watch the dog jump. By the way, did you tell me about that we knew somebody who had a dog and they got an e-collar and they were just using it like a remote control? Somebody told me that years ago. Wasn't it you? No, that was somebody else. This was some people had a dog, they had it trained, they got an e-collar, and the kids were like using the remote control. That's punishment. Okay, so if you're using your dog, and so you get away from the term punishment when you're using an e-collar. You're using the dog to correct them. And I've had this discussion with a lot of top level trainers, and I get it. Like Danny Craig's a top level trainer, Frank Phillips are top level trainers, but they still use that word. But they use it in the scientific term, which I refuse to do. But what the problem becomes really, and this is really problematic, is people will inevitably tie onto that word and say, see, people use e-collars for punishment. No, they don't. Properly use it's a correction. So now I digress. When using the e-collar as punishment, which means correction for chasing your cat, would you remove yourself and apply a harsh corrections or recall and reinforce with e-collar when dog does not return? Yes. From South Africa. Thank God you guys don't have those crazy laws yet. So there's 2 things you can do. You can use it as an aversive, which is what we do when we do rattlesnake training, right? If properly done, rattlesnake avoidance training will prevent a dog from going after a rattlesnake, which will kill it. It could possibly kill it. It's a very high likelihood it'll kill it. And we remove ourselves from that, yes. So we make the rattlesnake a complete and utter deterrent. The dog does not want to go anywhere near that rattlesnake. Now, the problem with the cat, because I'm going to tell you both sides of the story. The problem with the cat, if the cat taunts the dog, right, and then you have the cat taunting the dog, and the dog chases the cat, and you make it aversive, like the dog's not allowed to do that. At some point, the dog's going to probably push through and kill the cat, right? Because it's just going to become that aversive, and then the cat is trying. But if the cat is just trying to get away, and the dog is bugging the cat, it can be made an aversive because you're just teaching the dog, hey, that cat is off limits. That's it. But another thing you can do is you can put the dog in a crate and let the cat roam around. I don't know your situation because you're not really giving me the whole thing, but there's a lot more to it than that. You need to really examine this. But you can, yes, use the e-collar as a correction. Don't chase the cat. The dog chased the cat, bump. Dog is calm. Good. Go to your place and then let the dog see that, okay, that's the positive place to be. I don't know why this, it's like I need a technical person here, like Ezekiel or something to kind of do all this stuff, or Alan, but I don't have it. I wish I did. Can't get any of the iPad. I don't even have to turn these iPads off. Yeah, that one's off now. Oh, no, this is coming on. Okay, maybe if this iPad comes on, but for the last half hour, we'll have a decent ability for me to do this. Like I said, thank God Janet's here. By the way, Steve called you on this phone. Caitlin, not the one you're thinking about, says, Caitlin McLucky says, I have a 3-year-old female lab German Shepherd mix. She's great with other dogs on neutral territory, but is aggressive with other dogs inside her home. How do you recommend addressing this? Well, if you don't have other dogs coming to visit you at your home, you don't have to address it. You don't have to worry about it. All dogs will be territorial in their own environments to a degree, right? That's going to be totally, totally normal. So it's not a big concern, but what you can do is you can get her on a walk with another dog, bring the other dog in, have her under control, keep the introductions really slow. Keep that interaction in and of itself super, super slow, because that's going to make it a lot easier. Okay, Janet said she's got a good one for me. I'm still fighting here trying to get the iPads to work, and they're still not working. I mean, this one keeps coming on, but I don't know why that one keeps coming on. All right. Talented Paws says, is it okay to call myself a dog trainer when the only dog I have and I'm training is my own pet dog? I wouldn't, right? It's a little deceptive. It's kind of like people who have a PhD degree in something calling themselves doctors. They are doctors in a way, but you know, if they do it in like, if they went into a hospital, let me recant that. If a person who has a PhD in history goes to a doctor and somebody says, I have pain, and the person says, don't worry, I'm a doctor, they're misleading. So the fact that you trained your dog is all well and good, but a dog trainer really is someone who has experience with a multitude of dogs, right? Somebody who has really trained several dogs, I think, you know, a big thing I have, and Jan and I always talk about this, is a dog trainer should be someone who has trained dogs to do something, not just train dogs not to do something, right? So if you're the dog trainer who stops dogs from doing this or stops dogs from doing that, and you've never really trained a dog to do something, it can be something like nose work, scent detection, protection work, obedience, anything, then you're not really as much a dog trainer. You're just a dog knower, right? And that's not a K-N-O-W-E-R. That's a N-O-E-R, knower. You're just telling the dog, no, 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 no. And again, that's not real training from what I would consider. All right, BD. I rescued a 2-year-old female Malinois last year. She was very nervy and timid dog. Your videos have helped tremendously. Structure is huge. She is a totally different dog now. Tips for intro down at a distance. Yeah, that's a great question. And first of all, thank you for following my training and for making the most of it and getting something good out of it. What I would suggest you do, and again, I don't know why I'm so obsessed about getting this other iPad to work. I just get so worked up about making things perfect that sometimes I'm not able to do it. Here's iPad 2. Let's see if this works now. God in heaven, please help me get my iPads to work. There, now it's working. All right, here. Okay. All right, let's see here. What was that question again? I'm so sorry. Down at distance. Yeah, down at distance. I wish I could find that here. Yeah, I don't get that same thing. I see a different screen here, honey, that you don't see. All right. So here's the thing, guys. Down to distance is a really hard thing to do. What? Look at this real Malinois man. Give us $50 super chat. That's a very generous super chat. Thank you so much. I'm going to actually get to that question right away after this. I think I got my thing back here. we got to kind of be careful with this thing. This is kind of getting in the way. I think we're bumping that too. Down at a distance. This has been the longest question I haven't gotten to. Oh yeah, you know what? When we bumped that, we turned off our background logo. Let me put that back in. Oops, now it's on the wrong side. God, what's wrong with me? This is just a disaster here. I'm going to turn it off. Why is it on the wrong side now? I got that on. This is a disaster. This is the worst live I've done. You guys should get your money back. Because now when I try to, for some reason, I hit a button here and it put the background transparent layer on the wrong layer. It's like over my face now. It's literally over my face. I can't even move it. I don't know why I can't move it. This is the live from hell, guys. That's what I'm going to call this one, because for some reason the background is way over to the wrong side. Oh, you know what? I'm sitting on the wrong side. For some reason, I've got myself mirrored on here. Hang on, guys. This is, sometimes it's just funny. Let me do that. Now it's even worse. Is that the way I normally look? No, I'm on the wrong side. All right. This is a disaster, guys. I'm so sorry. I'm going to turn this off. I feel like just jumping off, but I know you guys want me to stay here. I think I'm on the wrong side now. I think for some reason the camera has turned me around. I think I had the keyboard there and I laid Janet's phone on it, and now everything is all screwy. All right, guys. Anyway, down to the distance, you're going to use a placeboard command. You're going to use a placeboard. You're going to put the dog on an elevated platform, and you're going to give the dog the command, and then you're going to walk away and then give the dog the command. Because if they jump off you, hey, go back to your place. You can do it that way. You can put the dog in a PVC box. If you remember my site, there's a video on how to make yourself a PVC box. You want to prevent forward travel on the dog. That's really the key. So once you do that, you'll be able to do that. That's what I would do. Placeboard. Real Malinois man. So thank you for that super chat. Very unnecessary, but I appreciate it. What's your thought on police dogs not being allowed to be a dog and play, and not being allowed in the house, etc., being kennelled when they're not working? This is a practice used a lot by agencies, a very controlled lifestyle. Okay, so knowing a lot of policemen and having friends with them and worked with them and respecting their work immensely, I respect their decision to do that. And I'll tell you why. And it's not gonna make sense to you right away, but if you kind of give me a minute to work through this, you might start to understand it. The dog is not allowed to be in the house and play because they want the dog to only play in training type situations, right? They want the dog to be that dog that when it comes out, it plays with the handler, it does this, it does that. And the more the dog engages other people, the less likely that dog is going to be to really be focused on the handler. Now, a lot of people who do competitive dog sports do the exact same thing, right? That's the exact same. So they put the dog in the kennel. They don't want the dog out. They want the dog only working for them because it builds that focus. I don't do that. And that's also why I never was on the world team or a national team or anything like that, because I wanted my dog sleeping in bed with me and being in the house with me and all that. So that was my decision. But when it comes to police work, they spend a lot of money on these dogs, and they really want the dogs to be on the job. So it's just the way it is. And I talked to somebody like Stoops, who's, those military dogs are with the handlers 24/7. They're always with them. They're in bed with them. They're in the helicopter with them. It's a different story, but it's something that I can't really fault them for doing. That's it. Vinny. All right, Vinny, you got a question, and thank you for the super chat too. Thank you all for your super chats. It's not necessary, but I greatly appreciate it. It's very, very kind of you. Thank you. What you can do, by the way, is you can run over to the shop and buy yourself a really cool shirt or a really cool hat. Hats are now available in the shop, and they ship worldwide. I know that for a fact. Vinny says, "Hey, Robert, big fan, just wondering what you would suggest doing with a 2-year-old shepherd who always barks when a family member leaves the house. Don't know what to do anymore." Well, part of it could be a nerve issue, and a lot of those nerve issues you're not going to fix because it is genetic. What I would really focus on would be giving the dog something to do, right? Just having people come in and out on their own, and that would give you a lot more control. So if the dog starts wearing, hey, lie down, and eventually the dog's just going to get it. Maya was kind of like that, right? Here's a question from Beth 4. Is that, oh, that's when you got about the breeder? Good. See, Janet, I think so much alike. That's what happens. Let's see. Beth says, what would be your top 3 questions for a breeder? That's a great question. The first question I would ask is, how many breedings have you done? And what have you learned from your breedings? I want to know that. If it's somebody just starting out, that's not saying they can't be good, but it's saying they don't have the experience. They lack the experience. I want to know about the lines of the dogs. I want to make sure the breeder knows about the lines of the dogs they're breeding. Where are the dogs from? What have been their genetics? What have been their accomplishments? What have been their pitfalls? Like how many dogs have had health issues and behavioral issues in those breedings? That would be the first thing. The second thing I would ask the breeder, and this would be a loaded question because I wouldn't mean it, but I would say, if I can't keep the dog in a couple of years, will you take the dog back? A good breeder will always say yes, right? And now you don't want the breeder thinking you're going to give the dog back, so you kind of have to set that up carefully. You might say, have you ever had dogs come back from other people, and then kind of suss that out. You never know what could happen. Like, God forbid, I got really, really sick and I didn't have Janet. I would want somebody who would take my dogs who would know them, not just a friend or somebody off YouTube, but somebody who really would know them and be able to do something with them. And that would probably be the breeder. So that would be my second question. And my third question is, I would want to see how carefully that breeder screens me. Is she just selling dogs to or he or she? I keep saying she because I think so many breeders are females, but Jeremy's not a female. Jeremy's a male. He's a breeder from Dwayne. I want to see. I want them to really question me. Like, what are you going to do with a dog? What's your experience with dogs? What's your this? What's your that? Because that would show me that person really cares where their dog is going. That was one of the best questions we've had. Take it off the screen. Yeah, so Janet had a great question. She said she would want to know how they're going to match the dog to the buyer, and that's kind of what I was saying. Like, if they're asking me questions, what are you going to do with the dog and all that stuff, that would be an interesting thing. Yeah. Marta says, dog has fixation trance. Certain methods aren't acceptable here. What should I do? He's neutered. You said nurtured, but do you think she means neutered? Neutered. I'll tell you what I would do is you're going to use an interrupter, right? No matter what it is. It can be a pop on the leash. It can be a tap on the butt. It can be anything. It doesn't necessarily need to be a prong collar or an e-collar, but it needs an interrupter. When the dog starts to get into that stare, you go, hey, come here. And you call the dog back to you. That's really, really important. The dog must do that. The dog must understand that. So I had one here that was really good too. Oh, I think I'm caught up to you now, honey. I'm thinking. Did you see M. Fung Fat? Let's look at that one here. Oh, one before. Let me go. David? All right, let me get David said. What do I teach? I know you teach to talk, but do you teach how to whisper? I don't understand what that question is. Oh, I don't teach whisper. I'm not a dog whisperer. You can just find the dog that's talking softly and mark that behavior, I'm assuming, but I think it will escalate up with every dog. Now M. Fung Fat, so I didn't mean to blow you off. I thought Janet had a really good one, not a funny one. Janet likes to do funny things. All right, M. Fung Fat. My German Shepherd will bite a tug and play, but only if I ask him to, and will not bite or pull hard. Is there a way to increase his tenacity to play tug, or is it genetic? Part of it is genetic because tug is a defensive game, right? So the dog needs to really be focused on doing things in a real defensive manner. He needs to really be focused on that game. You can make it better by putting the dog on a harness, back tying the dog, teasing the dog a little bit, and getting the dog to really engage and really want it more. And when he gets it, when the dog gets the toy, try to get in a few weeks, I'm going to try to get the video up of Ziggy doing tug because he was one of the biggest challenges I had, and he got it. You have to be consistent on the game. You have to do it over and over and over again, like every couple of days. And the big thing in tug, if the dog's not tugging, is to wait for the dog to do one tiny pop, like a little tiny pull, and reward that abundantly, and let the dog win. Like let the dog pull you, pull you, pull you, and then let the tug go and let the dog win, because that increases the dog's likelihood to do that. Let's see, Vinny, does that look like a good one there? Vinny V. Big fan, just wondering what you would suggest doing with a 2-year-old shepherd who always barks when I already answered that one. How did that come up again? It's interesting. Right? You got a good one down there, honey? Let's look at that one. What are your favorite bonding exercises with your dogs? Oh man, God, there's so many. It's just training, walking, anything is a bonding exercise. Jen is spitting cheese in her mouth. I think that's more of a focus exercise. Bonding, I mean, God, just being with the creature, being with them, like hanging out with them. Like Maya's laying over there across the room from me. Dwayne Mater's over here on the bed, on the couch next to me. Goofy's next to me. I mean, Jimmy's on the, I mean, right now, I'm not doing anything to bond with my dogs except for being me. And that's like amazing. Like if you have that kind of a creature, then, they just want to be around you, and if they see that fun things happen when they're around you, for example, we'll go for a walk, we'll go training a little bit. They get some love, rub on the head or something. That's it. It's just about being there with them, that they really, really do love that. I don't know what this one means. Stoner Gaming. It's Robert and Angel we don't deserve. If that was meant to be a compliment, thank you. Angela, do you know of a specific bloodline that throws a shorter, tight coat, whiptail Malinois? I don't. I'm not the guy to talk to about bloodlines. I don't know anything about that. Avi knows a lot about German Shepherd bloodlines. I don't know that, but I can tell you this much. A whiptail, you're saying a high set tail, is not something that is desirable in a Malinois. In fact, you see a lot of working lines where they just mix the lines together a lot with high tails. But if you look at this breed standard for Malinois, it's supposed to be a low set tail. Sherry Demon, Oakley, 11-month-old German Shepherd. He still doesn't lift his leg while peeing. Is it a problem? All of a sudden, won't listen to commands, like jumping on me when he knows better. It is puberty. And, some dogs may not lift their legs. I mean, guide dogs, for example, are taught not to lift their legs. They're taught, like Jimmy is almost 12 years old. He's 11 years old, actually 11 and a half. And he doesn't lift. He still squats. He does it. He's a low slung kind of a dude. I wouldn't worry about it. But the obedience I'd worry about more. I think you need to really get the dog to listen to you. Obedience. It happens in that 1 year range. JJ Lanati. I have a new blue heeler I'm bringing home in a couple of weeks, a pup. My last rescue was really reactive to dogs and certain strangers. What's the best way to avoid that? That is a great question, right? First of all, if you have a puppy, chances are, unless you screw them up or there's a really genetically bad line in them, you're not going to have that. Because especially healers, they're dogs that are made to be around people. They're made to be worked and trained and engaged. What I would do with the dog is I would, at any expense, expose this dog to people. Right? They don't need to pet him and play with him and do this, but they need to be around him. He needs to be around people. You can be giving him treats when he's around people. Every once in a while, you can tell the puppy to sit, and you can have somebody pet him and give him some treats. That's it. It's super, super simple. In fact, it's more of what you don't do than what you do to get the dog to be neutral with strangers and not aggressive with strangers. You'll see also that people who always have everybody, like they let their dog run up to everybody because they're socializing the dog, they're doing a bad job at socializing the dog because not everybody likes dogs running up to them, right? And somebody might say, hey, get your dog away from me. And then that'll send a bad signal. Okay, Marta. Dogs, okay. I think we already answered that one. I think sometimes on this program they come up twice. Oh, maybe they're asking again. Yeah, I'm not ignoring you guys. Um, okay, so Marty, you're explaining it here, and I think I answered your question where you're saying that e-collars and prong collars are banned, and again, you just need an interrupter to stop a dog from doing these behaviors. Let's see, John Dalton. 13-month-old lab and a 17-month-old Malinois. They actually started jousting, standing on back legs. Should I stop this behavior? Thank you. That's a method of play. They are playing. I wouldn't necessarily allow it, but I also wouldn't. I wouldn't stop it too soon. Let them play. I mean, we let our dogs play, and then at some point we go, "Hey, knock it off. That's enough." We don't like a lot of roughhousing in the house. I don't. I mean, Janet loves it. Janet loves. Just kidding. She doesn't like it either. I usually get that look like, which you can't see off camera. If I could push this button and have you see the camera, that would be a visual scolding, right? Yeah, don't let them be crazy in the house. It's not good. If they're outside and they're running around and it's just play, it's fine. But don't let them get out of control with it. That's a real big one. Let's see. John, you're welcome. I always like to every once in a while I like to put these comments up here. How the videos have helped. Okay, here's a super chat. I'm going to try to hit the super chat people because I feel bad that you're not getting them. Again, don't do the super chats and then I'll get to you and feel bad. It's nothing personal. I just have so many. If you saw my thing here, we've got 232 people in the room right now. So thank you. By the way, like I said before, if you have not hit the subscribe button and the notification bell, please do so. I mean, leave the room and do so because it's critical that you have access to notifications that when I'm going to do this. And also it helps my channel. I've been trying to grow this channel for years and we're at about 220,000 people now. I'd like to get it to 500,000 in the next couple of years. I really would. I'd love to pass 1 million and be the #1 dog training channel. I think people already say I am, but there's people who have more numbers. And I don't know if that really means anything, but I'm not going to become a clickbait kind of a guy to do that either way. Mateo, thank you for the super chat, by the way. £5 from Mateo. I'm at my first dog. Huge life-changing experience. It's a pit bull I've got when he was 3 months old. Super dominant, jumped the fence at 7 months old. Half. I don't know what that. I don't think you have a question, but thank you for your super chat. I would certainly be sure to structure this dog's life. Pit bulls can be great dogs, right? And they can be a disaster, just like any dog. The problem is when a pit bull is a disaster, it's a big dog. Just like when a Malinois German Shepherd is a disaster, it's a big dog. So it's your job to really engage this dog and get the dog to listen to you and have fun doing so. Okay, and then Vinny, you got a super chat here. Big fan, just when he was just doing with the 2-year-old Shepherd who always barks. Yeah, I already answered that. So I hope you got the answer to that. If not, you got to rewind on it. Okay, let's see. Grigor, and again, I'm only taking, yeah, thanks, Pet Prep Radio Show, because the technology is a disaster for me. I just can't stand it. I have fun with it when it's fun. Like yesterday, we shot this video, and I didn't set the camera somewhere, so everything was a little bit overexposed. Janet shot some really great stuff with my dog training vest, and she was really disappointed. But honestly, she did a great job filming it because later I was able to adjust it, and it was fine. So it's not a big deal. But this here, I don't know where my little logo is. That's supposed to be over here. There used to be a nice logo here. I'll put it back on for the member chat. But Grigor says from Romania, we have 2-year-old German Shepherd with allergies, something outside the yard, and we can't walk on a leash on a daily basis. How can we keep him in good mental health? I mean, you can give him Benadryl. I mean, you would check with a veterinarian first, but Benadryl is usually something they can prescribe to, that you can give to a dog. Check your vet for doses and stuff, but it's not the biggest thing. Okay, this is a fun. You don't have a question here, Bama Bass Grabber, but I'm going to answer this for you because I just saw something that looks a little disconcerting to me. My German Shepherd puppy is going on 3 months now and keeps attacking and biting my son. He's 8. Every time he steps off the couch, I think she's playing though, but it gets aggressive. Well, your puppy is more than likely playing with your dog because your dog sees your 8-year-old son as an equal. It's your job to make sure that the dog doesn't get that, right? First of all, 3 months old, if the puppy is out, I don't know what your son is doing, and I'm not saying he's doing anything wrong, but if he's kind of engaging the puppy or saying, getting giddy to the puppy or trying to engage the puppy to play, and then the puppy engages him, and then your son runs away and screams and stuff, and the dog is getting frustrated into that drive, that's an important piece. Now, a German Shepherd, you should have thought of that kind of dog is going to need structure. I'm not saying you shouldn't get one. There's a lot of people with young children who have German Shepherds, but you need to structure that interaction immensely, right? Especially if you're seeing these kind of behaviors. So put the puppy in a crate. Let your son run around, play, do whatever he's going to do. Have your puppy engaging to you with treats and toys while your son is running around playing. Let the dog see that it's the dog's job to engage to you, not to your son. Then you must, under every condition, tell your son he can't tease the dog, right? He can't tease the dog, run up to it, play with him, and then run away and expect the dog not to do anything. So this is a two-way street. This is where it takes parenting as a dog parent and parenting as a human parent to structure this. And otherwise, it's going to be a disaster. You're going to be getting rid of the dog. Okay, Janet's got a good one for me. The yellow one. The green one first. Mateo. Now he is non-reactive with 90% of dogs off leash. Still a no-no. Tips. Off leash. Oh, okay. Not with 90%. Off leash is still a no-no. Tips. Also, he's too alert, and they need to modify him sometimes to tune drive down. Well, so he's non-reactive on dogs. 90% dogs. Off leash is still a no-no. Yeah, I mean, you need to have a solid recall. That's it. The dog I can tell you right now, Goofy and Maya under every condition will recall, no matter what it is. If another dog is chasing him, whatever, they will recall. But I still, on occasion, if I'm in a big park, I'll put an e-collar on just to kind of make sure of something I don't need to make sure of. But it's like I'm a really good driver. I drive a really safe car. I still wear a seatbelt. You need to make sure you have a solid recall. That's what I would do. And toning your drive down is a matter of just keeping the dog in check. You don't tone drives down, guys. You got to make sure that you understand that you channel the drive. So in other words, if a dog is super high prey drive and is chasing after something, you switch that drive into a chase drive to come back to you, a recall drive. That's all. And then John Poor Hermanson. I'm going to take this off here from the Bass Grabber. I got a Rottweiler that is 1 year old now, going through that phase. She was really good on walks with a leash, but now is pulling a lot. Should I continue turning her? Yes, absolutely. Your technique doesn't change. Does not change whatsoever. You always demand obedience. You always get obedience. End of discussion. That's it. So, guys, Janet's got one more. Well, okay. Okay, this could go for a long time, she says, but let me see it. I'm going to make a decision. I'm going to go this one. Just I was going to tune off, but I'm going to do this one. So, Hera, I'm not going to say your last name because I'm going to give you a little rationing here. Maybe cops just like to put people and animals into cells. If they don't shoot them like other psychopaths, maybe they train with animals the stuff they do to humans. So first of all, you're a moron, right? Because anybody who thinks a cop likes to put people in cells is just a moron. You're stupid, right? Because you're making stupid comments on my channel, and you know I support the military and police. I'm pro-military and pro-police. If you don't know that, you don't like that, leave. This country was made great because of people like that. Now, I'm not saying there's not bad cops. Even my cop friends tell me some of their friends are idiots. But it's like me saying, all my followers are idiots just because you're an idiot, right? You're making a stupid comment. When a policeman does something, 99.9% of the time, it's something to benefit the safety of society and idiots like you, right? Even though you're stupid, and you're a moron, and you're saying stupid things about police officers who are risking their lives for dumb people like you to have the right to exist, okay? You're just, it's entertaining because you're so stupid, right? But they're doing things to make things better. They're going out there, they have to wear bulletproof vests, they have to carry guns because they're protecting people from other bad people. What I would love you to do, I forget what your name is already, but what I would love you to do is go into a really bad neighborhood, because I guarantee there's one within earshot of you, and there'll probably be a few more in the next few years. Go into that neighborhood, and when you feel really unsafe, call Ghostbusters, call somebody, call your friend, call a psychiatrist, because there's no policeman that'll protect you. And then see how you feel. Policemen don't like to put animals in cells. Policemen don't like to put people in jail. Policemen like to have a safe society. There are good police officers and there's a few bad ones. But for the overwhelming prospect and numbers of police officers are good people. The military is full of good people, keeping all of us safe. So I'm glad I'm ending it on that, and you know my feelings, that I care about our men and women in blue, firefighters, first responders, military, police, and everything. I care about you guys. I love you guys. You make the world a better place. Thank you for your service. And idiots like this don't need to be on my channel. They don't need to make comments here. You're going to get slammed every time you do it. Every time. I'm not going to allow it to happen. I'm not going to let it go unseen. Because it's bull. As long as I have a voice, I'm going to respond to idiots like you who try to slam our police and our military and everything that made this country great and the world great and free. Because if it wasn't for people like that, 90% of the world would be speaking German right now. If you don't know what that means, check your history books. I'm out of here, guys. God bless you. Thank you for listening. Thank you to all of you who agree with me, and those who don't. My channel.